This is the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast, hosted by David Charlton, and you're listening to this podcast to help you build your own mental toughness, so that you can support other people or your clients better. Either way, you will learn more about developing this plastic personality trait that all but guarantees that you will perform better and lead a more prosperous life. Welcome back. That's right, we're back again with the third of 4 compilation episodes, this time with a more generic theme. So there's no specific focus, as was last week where we had soccer or football. This episode has key takeaways where you can learn from the world of business and entrepreneurship. You can take lessons from the military. We've got mental fitness, motivation, and the importance of sleep. These were the themes and the topics that were unpicked. So please do enjoy listening to these excellent insights.
So I guess the thing is to understand what it is that you're shining the light on. I'm shining the light on people's purpose. I have that clarity with that. And I understand how Ikigai has helped me to become really clear on the value that I offer and the value I offer through my podcasting and through my coaching. And I guess it comes down to the core thing, understanding why you're doing what you're doing and understanding that what you do each day matters. And that what you do today is going to shape your future, and what you do with others is going to shape the future for other people. So if you want to find fulfillment and purpose in life, it all comes down to that one sole thing, which is focus on why.
Right, so I'm going to go for Mars bars. We'll start with Mars bars. Mars a day helps you work, rest and play. So some of you might be too young to remember that actually was an advert, but it was an advert for chocolate, Mars a day. And you know, for me, I love, you know, it's muddy feet and rosy cheeks for me. If I'm outdoors stomping around, getting some downtime, that is really, really supportive to me. So I guess what I'm saying is this is about nurturing your well-being. Right, it's something we all need, because if you really are in it for the long haul and you really want to thrive with your goals or with your life, you really, really need to take some time to nurture yourself. There's a lovely you can if you Google 5 steps to well-being, it's a linked to an NHS resource that talks about 5 different things you can do to nurture your well-being. They're very simple things. It's about taking time to learn, taking time to help others, taking time to be active, be in the outdoors, mindfulness. It's the things you might expect, but it's really, really nice. And what I would say to people is take some time. You know, we're very busy in our lives, but please, polyprescription, 30 minutes, 3 times a week, if that's all you can do for yourself, to top yourself up, to make sure you're not depleted. That's definitely got to be one of them. What else can we say? We've got to say something about taking action, don't we? Because I guess that's one of the things that we've been talking about. So what would we say about taking action? What kind of takeaways have we got from here? You know, for those of you that are action biased, you know what, we weren't actually designed to be multitaskers. It's a myth. Multitasking is a concept that was created to describe how computers operate. They're meant to multitask. We're meant to unitask. So if I can just say one thing, just prioritize one thing that you really, really want. Give that your full attention. There is a great book, you'll have read it too, David Charlton, about the one thing. I can't remember the author off the top of my head, but it really focuses on that concept of, you know, not getting distracted by shinies. All your other great ideas can sit in the waiting room. David Charlton and I have a wonderful business coach who taught us lots about, you know, the waiting room's a great place to store all your other great ideas, but just stay focused on the one thing you want. You know, have moonshot goals, dream big, but for goodness sake, act small, focus on the one thing and give it your full attention. And give yourself, I call it high impact activities. You know, 3 things that you can do in any one week that's going to help you get the most success towards that goal, that thing you want to achieve, that training you want to do. So that's definitely my second one.
Second one, I think that was about 5 points there, isn't it?
I'll just say something else as well. I'll say one more thing, and this relates to mindset. You know what? There's always going to be somebody out there with a bigger boat. Comparison is a thief of joy. Get your blinkers on and focus on yourself. Focus on where you're at and your progress and your development. Focus on where you're at and the next thing you need to achieve, and just you let everybody else do what they're going to do. That's fine. It's good. But just focus on yourself and think about the mindset that you need to have to support that, and have a word with yourself. Write it down.
I guess the vulnerability piece, of course, is the theme that we've been talking about today. So one, in terms of boundaries, you're in charge of your own boundaries. You set them, and you are the one that either allows others to overstep them, or you uphold them for yourselves, and you owe it to yourselves to uphold them. So that's the first one, the boundaries. I think the pie of career success, and realizing just how much goes into your exposure in terms of getting yourself out there, being vulnerable, allowing people to see the real you, the authentic you that you want to show up as a leader. And then I guess the final one is that environment that you create. Is it psychologically safe? Is your team really happy? Or are you the passive aggressive, unsupportive, not very nice leader? In fact, I would argue that you're not a leader if that's what you're doing.
The three key takeaways really is that be, do, have. I use it so many times. Yeah, and if there's one thing you take away from this is, be clear what you have is in every aspect of your life. In with your family, with business, with sport, and be honest with yourself. What is it that I want from this game that I'm playing? And if you treat life as a game, in every aspect, then every game you play should be fun. So from a business point of view, what is it I really want from this business? If it's from golf, what is it I want from golf? If it's the family, what is it I want from family? Okay, you've got to be clear what that is, and that you put, and it will change through your life. What you want at the age of 22 is not what you want at the age of 52. So you've got to keep going back to that on a regular basis and going, am I in alignment with what I want to have? And if you're not sure what it is, then you've got to go and talk to people, talk to your family, talk to friends, get a coach, a life coach, to actually help you understand what it is you want. Because, I didn't get this until I was 38 years old, and if I'd known what I knew at 38 when I was 18, I would have done a lot of things differently, and that's the one thing that I wish, my parents had, they gave me a lot of insights of what I should do, but they didn't know that. So they weren't in a position to teach me that. So that the have is, I would say, is number one. Once you've got that, then what do I need to do to be the best at that I can be? And if you really believe in the have, then you'll believe in the be. So for me, I love my golf. I really want to be, my first goal was to become single figures, which I've managed. I'm looking at, I'd love to be scratch, but then I have to look at every aspect of my life and go, am I prepared to give up what it will take to be scratch golfer? And the answer to that is probably no. I've seen what it takes to be single figures. And so there comes a bit of realistic goals. So my goal at the moment is 6 or 7. I think that to me, for where I am, I'd be happy with that. And then, okay, once you've got that, what do you need to know? What knowledge, skills do you need? And then you put a plan together and says, right, this is what I need to do to actually achieve it.
Well, I think learning to take care of oneself, to be your best, to get rest, to set goals and dreams, to achieve, and not be afraid to try. There are no failures and there are no tragedies.
Well, there's no top 5 tips. There's no top 10 tips. I think the basic thing is just start your little journey. So there are 7 KSRIs in my world with the R90 technique that I apply, which has been generated over the years. So, and it's a little journey from 1 to 7. And the first 3 is just tap circadian rhythms in your browser and just get a better relationship on this amazing tool that's at the end of your fingertips. And it's free, no subscription. Don't even have to think about not joining the gym after 3 months. Just tap it in your browser and get used to it. Your chronotype, which we just touched on, you can start to be more aware of it and everybody else around you, because you might not be able to change everything, but you'll start to get a much better relationship of your rhythm to any 24 hours. Absolutely key. You can't just jump in with some isolated solution. And number 3, which is the key one, sunrise, midday, sunset, 4 phases of the day. It's a rolling 24-hour process. So what you start with, which is key, is the anchor point to your day. We don't wake with the sunrise because we live in a seasonal dependent country. So you look at an anchor point to trigger this clock, right? And that is your most consistent wake time, your most consistent start. Me and you would probably pick 5:30, 6 o'clock, 6:30, 7 o'clock. If we took it 8 o'clock, that's like midday to us. A PM is the other way around. So pick your most consistent anchor point, right? Mine is 6:30. And then chop your day up into 90-minute cycles very quickly. That's how you measure phases of sleep in a clinical world, right? The stages you go through in cycles. 5 90-minute cycles is 7.5 hours. There's your rate, 15 in, 15 out. Chop your day up. In my case, from 6:30, my anchor point is when I start my day. Not wake, start my day, right? That's when the alarm's on. And you will get 16 phases, right? 16 90-minute phases. What that then does is create this lovely, lovely picture in front of you. What are you doing in the first 90 minutes of your day between 6:30 and 8 o'clock, for example? You then understand that the 16th phase of your day, the 16th cycle, is between 5 and 6:30. That's your wake cycle. That's when you're going to wake up, start your day at 6:30 with the alarm on. Then you can look at that dial and go, well, 5 90-minute cycles are between 11 and 6:30. 5 90-minute cycles. So the first cycle between 11 and 12:30, then 12:30 into 2 a.m. is the second cycle, and the third cycle, and the fourth cycle, and the fifth cycle for a 5-cycle 8 hour. Then you can because you've looked at the circadian rhythms, you then know that deep sleep is only revealed between 10 p.m. and 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. We're being specific with the times, but it's that phase, right? Into 12 and the other side. So in there, your brain starts looking, if it's prepared and you've looked after it from the point of wake, it'll start looking for those deep sleep stages. When I can get in your room, 11 and 12:30, it'll look for it again between 12:30 and 2. But anybody who's got a tracker, which we touched on before, you will not see those trackers, whatever they are, rings or anything, they will not tell you that you've had any deep sleep between like 3 and 6:30, because those are the wake cycles. A lot of people who wake at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and feel wide awake and they can't get back to sleep, that's because that's just going back to your polyphasic, natural, multiphasic approach. So suddenly what changes is anchor point, 6:30, chopped it up. 16th cycle between 5 is wake cycle. Then that one is about light sleep, running into that one. The 2 that's going to be the one where my brain can get this deep sleep, which is only 20%, is those 2 cycles there. So whatever I'm doing throughout my day, little CRPs, light in and out, I'm bringing all that to it. So when I present myself to sleep at 11 o'clock, my brain takes over. It goes and grabs that deep sleep either in the first cycle or the second cycle. And if it does get some of that, I'm going to feel great. If it doesn't, it's probably because there was things I was doing on the route to that place that it's having to keep adapting and couldn't get it for me. And when you mention parents, in the formative growth years with kids, you're not in control as parents until they get to a certain age when you try manipulating them to do other things. They are being completely controlled by that internal circadian rhythm, that process of going along through that whole thing. So their brain is looking for this thing and generating, because it's about growth. It's about it's about creating that human being. And then suddenly you start to think, well, that's how important sleep was for me to get from 0 to adolescence and then adulthood. That's how important it was. It dominated that period of time. More than food, fuel, and hydration. It completely dominated it, with the brain keeping you down in those deep sleep states. So as you shift, you really start to, it's a big answer to your question, but it is circadian rhythms tapping in your browser. Understand and be more aware of your chronotype. Chop your day up into 90-minute cycles, create these phases, because then your focus will be totally on What on earth can I do from the point of wake, the anchor point, doesn't matter how well I've slept, what can I do through those each cycles to give my brain the best opportunity to go and look for that deep sleep in those first 2 cycles of my nocturnal sleep? Because that is the stuff that allows me to grow as a person, to regenerate as a person, both mentally and physically. And if I can't do something to help that, it's a complete waste of time.
I think if I look back on, I think about the football development scheme, I was in an environment where I was supported. So I wasn't, and what came with that was a network of people I could learn from, a training program that allowed you to progress, and like a lot of the risk was mitigated. So I think if I was thinking like young people who were coming to work for us, like football's a product to help people. That's all it is. Unless you were kicking off at 3:00 on a Saturday at St James's Park, you're not playing for Newcastle United, you're in development team. So football's a product to help people. Think really serious about your network and your references, because particularly if you're in Newcastle in the North East, it takes a really long time to build up a good reputation. People keep trying to jump the queue and it never works. You've just got to put the long yards in, but be around people who you can learn from and who you can network from, and who would give you a reference that has some value. And everyone wants to like magpie practices from all over. It's your personality. The personality is the bit that helps people with their emotions and their thoughts and their purpose and their value. And what I didn't know as a dad was no one's taken my son on a journey unless they take me and his mum on the journey as well. Like there's a whole dynamics to helping young boys and girls learn any sport really. And I think that bit I talked about before, like find a way to elevate people to believe in them. Do that in a congruent way that people believe you. You can't bullshit kids. They like you or they don't, and they tell you. They won't come back. Find out what's in your toolbox to help them, like your skills, your practices, your environments, your opportunities, and then eventually that'll be worth it if you can stick around long enough. The challenge with our industry, Dave, is you're never going to be a millionaire, and when people get to 21, 22 and they want to settle down, it probably doesn't pay enough, and you end up starting a career as a joiner or a plumber or whatever else. The ones who stick around during that period find like that resonate bit is really valuable in terms of the people you've helped and the people you can help in the future. And football's been great to me. My brother followed a path of professional football, but football's been great for me in terms of like being able to work in the industry. So the personality, in terms of the foundation, is like more important than the qualification.
Mindset is everything, and how we do one thing is how we do everything. But in particular, our relationship with money is reflective of our relationship with ourselves. So if our relationship with ourselves is not where it needs to be, then our relationship with money is never going to be where it needs to be. So where mindset goes, money grows would be number one. Number two, check your bank account daily. Check your bank account daily because your bank account provides all the information that you need with regards to what is going on in your business. What you do today will be reflected in your bank account in 90 days' time. If you don't like that number in your bank account today, think back to what you were doing or not doing 90 days ago. The third thing I would say is schedule your visibility, because being visible in our business is the biggest and greatest way to grow our business. And if you are feeling uncomfortable in being visible, ask yourself why, and ask, is it directly related to my sense of self-worth and self-value? And if the honest answer is yes, then do something about it.
I think number one is accept the fact that it's not perfect. So set your own expectation, right? So in other words, I'm about to take on a new task, a sporting task. I'm going to try and run faster than I ever done before, whatever it might be. Accept the fact that is not always going to go well. So in other words, set the right expectation and accept the fact you're going to have a bad day, and that's normal. So accept the bad days, I guess, as to what they are. I think the second one is probably remember that the majority of anxiety, or often anxiety, is caused by a perception of what's happening around us. So fear, false expectation, appearing real. And that is work out what's real, work out what's going on around you, and only deal with the bits that are actually going to impact you right now. And then as that kind of pressure relieves, as that anxiety relieves, you will find that you have a bigger capacity to deal with stuff going forwards. And then I think the third thing to remember is that wanting to quit is normal, just don't.
I would say, first of all, don't underestimate the power of peer support. A kind word with a colleague is really, really important. So the value of peer support. I think the importance as well of informed, empathetic and compassionate leadership, absolutely crucial. And I think to have some degree of awareness around how people respond to high stress environments, particularly where it's predictable, in policing and the NHS, these things are to be expected. So planning for them and understanding them really important. So those would be the three things I think I would leave with them.
So we've obviously got the goal setting piece. That's really important. We talk about resilience. We talk about anything in life, being able to set a goal and go out and make it happen is really important. The key to it for me is stretch goals. Find something that pushes you out of your comfort zone, that you need somebody else's help to help you to achieve it. Without that help, you might trip and fall. It might not happen. When you set those stretch goals and you achieve them, you grow. Confidence, self-esteem, and actually it gives you the energy to move to the next level. That's key. So that's one aspect. The other thing I'd like people to go away and think about, and I see this a lot, and I'm sure you've got a take on it as well. We're a world that's obsessed with technical skills. Even in high performance sport, there seems to be a big push for the technical skills. Now, I'm not dismissing technical skills, but actually the world I came from, high performance was more about your mental, emotional, and social skills, not just your technical skills. And I think we become too obsessed with technical skills. And that's in all aspects of life. If people have those skills to be able to lead themselves, lead others, create the culture and environment around them that enables all to thrive, then you get a far better result at the end of the day than just relying on technical skills. And I think that's, for me, when I look at sport, and I'm in my head, I've got some, Jurgen Klopp's spoken about this a few times, haven't he? And Chelsea are going through something similar. You want everybody aligned, everybody on the same page, because it's not just about technical skills. Actually, I'd go one step further, beyond alignment to, you want everybody to try and live and breathe these mental, emotional, and social skills. That to me is far more powerful than technical skills. I know people push back on that. You need technical skills, especially in professional sport, but that's the bit people neglect. The other thing I would say, and it's come up a few times in what I've said, and it's a really difficult one to get across in a podcast, and it's not something new to people, is when you start to live your life through your values and what I'd call your character strengths, your positive personality traits, everything else just fits into place. And that goes, in the team you're living and working in, at home, your social life. When you start to understand and recognize what your values are, how to bring them alive through your character and your personality, huge sense of fulfillment, achievement, happiness, productivity, performance, all those buzzwords that we could throw around. And I've mentioned that a few times because I by accident fell into three places that just enabled me to do that. Royal Marines. I then grew even more when I went UK Special Forces. My values just fit into them. My strengths, my values really connected with the Royal Marines. My values and my strengths really connected with UKSF, and I just grew even more when I was there. Unfortunately, that journey was cut short, and then now where I am again, it's just elevated to a whole new level. So those are the three big things. We talked about goal setting, but mental, emotional, and social skills, at least on parity, if not above technical skills. And if you can identify and live your life through your values and your character strengths, then you're onto a winner.
Did you enjoy that? I did. And again, I'd like to say a big thank you to these guests who've played a part in the creation of this episode of the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast. So what timely reminder did you take in? Feel free to let me know via email, info@sport-excellence.co.uk, or using one of the social media platforms. And also, please, that's right, and another please, spend 20 to 30 seconds of your time to give the podcast a positive rating. 5 stars if you can, with some favorable comments using iTunes. This action really does help the podcast and drives more traffic to the podcast, therefore influencing positively a lot more people's lives. Till next next time when we have our final compilation episode of this short series, celebrating the fact that we've made it to 150 episodes. Have a great week. If you enjoyed this episode of the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast with David Charlton, do check out my website, sport-excellence.co.uk, and my online sports psychology resources. The Sport-Excellence website has essential resources for anyone looking to build their own mental toughness or the mental toughness of their athletes or teams, or if you want to achieve peak performance more often or optimal functioning. The Sport Excellence website has everything you need to keep moving forward and thrive. So go on, head over to sport-excellence.co.uk to find out more.